With an undercount, we don't have the capacity to do what we're doing right now. And so we need to have a complete count.
The stakes are high. An accurate 2020 census count impacts the amount of federal dollars a community receives. It also determines how many congressional members will represent our area.
We got to go to every hill and every hamlet and count. I mean, people, wherever they are.
The massive effort to count everyone in Greater Cincinnati is underway. The goal, reaching as many people as possible, especially for underrepresented communities that are mistrustful of the count.
In this edition of Let's Talk Cincy, we explain the importance of the census count and dispel the myths surrounding it.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Well, the very first census took place in 1790 and required every household to be visited. Welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. I'm Curtis Fuller.
And I'm Alexis Rogers. Of course, the country has grown quite a bit since the original 13 colonies, but in 1790, there were 6 categories designated for the count. Free white males of 16 years and upward to assess the country's industrial and military potential. Free white males under 16 years old. Free white females, and all other free persons and slaves. Pretty limited, if you ask me. But many people simply don't trust Big Brother and what the government might do with the information.
But there is a strong, very strong effort to remove the fear and distrust out there from some of our neighbors.
Welcome, everybody, to the official kickoff of the 2020 census.
With that, the goal is to make sure everyone is counted. $675 billion in federal funding is available to states and communities based on census numbers. The money is spent on schools, hospitals, roads, public works, and other projects. But Hamilton County missed out on millions of dollars over the past decade because 30% of the population was not counted.
We just need our fair share coming to Hamilton County and to the city of Cincinnati for the people that live in this region to make sure that we are providing the services that we get from the federal government through these dollars.
There will be emphasis on several communities undercounted, like Cincinnati's Spanish-speaking communities.
The thing is that sometimes people think that they share information, background, whatever, with other institutions.
Neftali Roblero owns My Tierra grocery store and restaurant in Forest Park, one of 3 businesses he owns in Greater Cincinnati. He employs about 130 people. He says he supports the census and will encourage his workers to do the same thing.
This is the country who gives opportunity to anyone, no matter what their background is, no matter where they were born, no matter where they were. If you do the things correctly, and if you obey the laws, the rules, definitely there is a lot of place for you to succeed.
Now, you know, census officials are really stressing your information will be safe.
And joining us now to discuss this further is Hamilton County Commissioner Denise Driehaus. This is very important, and I'm sure that you're having this conversation with so many folks.
Oh, yeah. We need a complete count because last time we did a count in the city of Cincinnati, the number was about 70% were counted. And outside of that in Hamilton County, it's just in the mid to high 70s. That is not okay because we are not getting those tax dollars back in this community for some of the safety net services that we provide and economic development services we provide. So we need a complete count.
And in that segment, and we're going to talk a lot about this during the program, in that segment we talked about certain neighborhoods, certain communities being underrepresented, and that's those are the targeted groups that you're going after.
Well, that's right, especially on the door-to-door efforts. And I will tell you, as someone that's gone door-to-door in this community, it can be difficult to get people to engage and just to open the door. And so we need to make sure that people understand that the information they're providing is secure, it cannot be shared, and the only thing that's captured is a demographic. It is not your name, it's not any personal information, because that's not part of what the complete count is about. And so people need to understand that and understand the relevance. If you're not counted, then those resources aren't coming.
So many people don't understand that, though. They believe, especially in certain communities, they're really nervous about what that might mean for them after you get the information, but no names.
They're the information is protected by law, and there are very stiff penalties if anyone were to divulge that information information. And so, and it can't be shared from the Census Bureau to any other government agency. It is census information, it is census data, and is protected as such.
Again, we want to emphasize that if you are not counted, that impacts Hamilton County in terms of dollars and cents.
Yeah, so there are a couple projects that just happened just recently where we use some of these federal dollars at the county level to do some gap funding. So I'm going to give you a quick example. 821 Flats just opened in the West End. It is providing 57 units for people who suffer mental health issues and are homeless otherwise. And so 57 units are coming online. The building is fantastic. Tender Mercies is the partner. The county came in with dollars that are the federal dollars coming down. That was the gap funding that we provided. The city provided similar funding. If we don't have the resources to do that kind of work, we can't provide that, and who knows if the projects move forward. The flip of that is, and I know the mayor and I have both talked about this, the economic development dollars are so important because we're in Reading and Lockland and North Bend and all over the county doing projects. We're gap funding that too. So we are helping to catalyze development and jobs all over the county. Some of those federal dollars are being used for that gap funding. The less we have, the less we can do. We had more applications this year than we had dollars to provide. And so we want to do as much as we can at the county level to provide for economic development. And without the funding from the feds, we can't do it.
Thank you so much for pointing out how it works. I think that's very important. So thank you so much for joining us. Getting counted in the 2020 census is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
We will look at the process when Let's Talk Cincy returns.
Well, here are some facts about the last census in 2010. It was the shortest questionnaire in history. Yes, you heard me right, asking just 10 questions of all households. Same-sex married couples were counted for the first time, and they were able to give the same responses given by opposite-sex married couples. And the 2010 census featured a $133 million advertising campaign. The 4-month campaign included TV, radio, and print ads. Welcome back to Let's Talk Cincy. Census officials say getting counted is a pretty easy process.
Yeah, it really is. Joining us to talk a little bit more about that and how it's done is Sharon Watkins from the Hamilton County Community Action Agency. Welcome to our program.
Thank you.
We should point out that there is something new this year. People can go online and do it, and that's the first time ever that's being done. Does that make it a little bit easier for you guys?
It makes it easier, and it's available for everyone. You know, anyone can walk in. We have computers available, the libraries around the town, Community Action Agency, the rec centers, everyone has computers available for people to fill out the application. Mm-hmm. We still have the old process by phone, you know, and the paper forms if they would like to do it that way as well.
Yeah, and door to door.
Yes, door to door.
There's so many communities that especially the Community Action Agency definitely serves who are a little wary about this. How do you have that conversation with them?
Actually, we recently took on an immigrant liaison, so we're going to go down to the Camp Washington area where we have a large Hispanic community, and CAA will be present down there to explain it in their own language to them. And we have so many people that walk into our agencies every day. We have the library on campus and WinMed, so we'll be able to reach out to all of those clients and give them the information. We also have partnered with the census so that they can have their representative on site as well to explain it to the people.
Everyone underscores the numbers, and so a lot of the folks that you're dealing with day in and day out are impacted by the money that would flow back.
Exactly.
And I'm certain that's what you have to share with them.
Exactly, yes. So we want to make sure that every community is aware of how to fill out the census and the availability of it. So yes, CAA is working really hard to get out in the community and get the awareness out there that we're here to help you in any way we can.
Especially having that conversation from generation to generation.
Yes.
It's awesome that you all have options.
Yes, we have a lot of parents that come in. We serve from cradle to career, so we have 5 Head Start facilities that will be able to reach out to the parents that come into our facility as well. So they'll be able to fill out the census on site or even at some of our Head Start locations.
I like the phrase cradle to career.
Yes.
When I use it, I will give you credit for it. Hey, thank you very much for being here. You know, there is a lot at stake for communities when it comes to getting an accurate census count.
We'll tell you about some areas that don't necessarily come to mind when we return.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Cincy. Our 50th state was the first to conduct the 2020 census.
Alaska went first because a lot of the indigenous population was left out of the last count. Plus, it's easier to get around the state in the winter when it's frozen. It's kind of funny, actually. And the first person to be counted this year, a 90-year-old who only speaks in her native language. As we said, states rely upon census data to determine how much money they get from D.C. Decisions like how many congressional seats a state gets are based on the number of people who answer the census. The goal of the census this year is to get those who have been reluctant in the past to get on board in 2020.
An accurate count will make a big difference in how our community fares for the next decade.
In our region, we have data that shows for every person that's not counted, the region itself loses $1,814 in federal dollars.
The stakes are high, and the census is hoping the numbers get your attention. In Hamilton County, 30% of the population not counted 10 years ago.
Not only are we losing a lot of money, that data is used to calculate where our public transportation goes, where we put hospitals, where we put schools, things that are very tangible to everybody's everyday existence.
It can make all the difference, especially for smaller communities like Silverton.
It's tremendous. Directly, we became a village in 2011 when we fell below 5,000 residents for the first time since the 1950s.
Silverton is considered a first suburb community, places that boomed shortly after World War II. But the past couple of decades have seen growth happening outside the urban loop. In addition, 15 to 20% of residents here were not counted during the last census. Although the law safeguards your information, the biggest hurdle for the census is trust.
I don't want to diminish those concerns. I think they come from a place that's legitimate. But as you say, by law, the Census Bureau is unable, any census worker is unable by law, they take an oath that they cannot divulge personal information for 72 years.
Here's what's new this year. You can answer the census questions online or by phone or even by mail. You'll start receiving notices in a few weeks. No response, and workers could still come knocking at your door in May.
Well, we're continuing the conversation of how important the census really is.
And we are now joined by Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley, and thank you very much for being here.
Great to be with you both.
Yeah, talk about the importance of the census and why people need to commit themselves to it.
As I always say, there are 4 reasons that everyone has to fill out the census. First, it's your constitutional duty as an American. Second, we receive spending. We send our tax dollars to Washington, and the amount that we get back for Social Security and Medicare and Head Start and the SNAP program and various prescription drug benefits for our seniors is directly tied to an accurate count. So if we undercount, if not everybody fills out the census, our loved ones in our community who are entitled to these benefits, maybe your aunt, maybe your parent, maybe your brother, maybe you, our community will have less of those benefits available to us if we don't count properly. So it's a moral imperative to help people, senior citizens, get the prescription drug help that they need, and some of the funding that comes with that is related to the census. The third reason is that all of that money that comes in, like money for Head Start, money for the food program, is spent. So that money is spent with local businesses, local grocery stores, local area that people make money from and salaries from. And so the economic impact in addition to the moral impact on an individual who may not get the prescription drug help that they deserve, the impact on local businesses that we're losing out on is huge. And so, for example, the federal government states that for every person undercounted, we will lose $1,800 per person of our tax money that won't come back to Cincinnati into our region. So if we undercount just by 10,000 people, that would be $180 million, or $18 million per year, $180 million over a 10-year period that our economy won't benefit from. Even it's our money. So our money will go to Washington, $180 million of it will, and we won't get it back. And last, and not the least important, is that for the first time in 60 years, Cincinnati and Hamilton County is going to show a population increase. And for 60 straight years, it was a decrease. And that means that we're part of a few Midwestern cities that are rising. And that attracts more jobs and more business and more people, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And we know it's true based on the amount of new housing that's been developed over the last 10 years. I mean, just think about Cincinnati alone. 10 years ago, there was no banks and all the people living at the banks near the riverfront. Almost nobody lived in Over the Rhine. It's doubled, tripled the number of people that have lived in Over the Rhine in the last 10 years. You go to corners like East Walnut Hills at DeSales Corner, or Madisonville near Medpace, Oakley near Madtree, all those apartment buildings across from the Cinemark. None of those people were there 10 years ago. We know for sure that we're up by probably 25,000, 30,000 people. And if we get counted for all that, it'll bring more money back to our community, and we'll have greater bragging rights to talk about the city's renaissance.
You've talked about Cincinnati growing, and we have more and more ethnicities coming into the city, which is important to note.
Yes.
But there are certain communities that are just very hesitant to give this information. How do you have that conversation with them about the importance of this?
Well, first of all, again, it's a constitutional duty as an American to do. The second thing is that, as I mentioned at the beginning, there are loved ones that we all have that will directly benefit from the dollars that will come back, whether it's in food stamps, whether it's Head Start, whether it's prescription drug for seniors. And so if you don't count yourself, even if you don't personally benefit from those benefits, someone else will go without who deserves to have those benefits, senior citizens, prescription drug benefits, et cetera. So it's not only important if you depend on it, but if you have a loved one who is entitled to that benefit, senior citizens, certain Medicaid and Medicare benefits for prescription drugs, you should fill it out to make sure they get the help that they need.
Well, we know you're leading the way with this, and we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you getting the message out, and we're going to continue to do that as well.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Helping minorities to stand up and be counted.
Next on Let's Talk Cincy, what the Urban League is doing to get ahead of the obstacles threatening an accurate count in African American communities.
Hi there and welcome back. Trying to build a fair representation of who lives in the community.
The Urban League has served as advisor to the Census Bureau. Joining us now is the newest CEO, Eddie Cohen. And thanks for, you said 120 days.
120 days, yes.
Your involvement, we had the Community Action Agency on earlier, and I assume that you too are reaching out into the community like them.
Yes. There's a group of organizations, over 100 actually, on a complete count committee that's really trying to serve as the bridge builders between communities and the actual census.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to being right there in Avondale in the midst of it all, how impactful and important do you see that being with all the different organizations kind of using you guys as a hub?
Absolutely. So one of the things that folks don't know about the Urban League is we are the central location for wireless in Avondale. There are 30 communities out of the 52 in Cincinnati that are hard to count. We say it's really building trust slower. So we know that we have a duty as the Urban League to really hire folks that look like us. We've had 2 census job fairs in the Urban League building to really have folks that are reflective of the community to execute the census.
And that's the one thing that we haven't talked about, is that there are jobs available as a result of the census, I think pay anywhere from 15 on up to $30 an hour.
That's right, good paying jobs. So we deep partnership with the census. Again, we had two job fairs. We will have another one. And when you think about the speed of trust and all of the apprehension and fears with filling out the census, it's always good to have folks who are reflective of the community.
When we talk about resources, because I know the Urban League is big on resources in the community,
right.
How do you sit down and have the kitchen table conversation about the importance of how this equates to resources?
That's right. We all know the common things, Title I, food programs, Medicaid, Medicare, but I like to use really tangible analogies. So if you take how much the Cincinnati Reds is worth, the Cincinnati Bengals, plus FC Cincinnati, and you think about that's almost $3 billion. Well, in 2010, the whole Hamilton County lost $3 billion in census money. That would be like saying, we're going to throw that money away and get rid of it. So very impactful. 2010, there was almost 1 million kids that were not counted. So you think about access to critical safety net services in communities like Avondale that we're in. And it's not that folks don't want well for their communities. We just need to build better trust to execute the census.
I guess what's troubling is I hear all the conversations. We've sat in those committee meetings. The trouble is we can't get people to vote.
Sure.
And so, it's hard having the conversation to get people to vote. And my biggest concern is that people will talk about it here on television. They'll see the billboards, but it won't sink in. And that's the fear that I have, that it just won't sink in.
Well, one of the things I'm optimistic about this day is that they've really thought about digitization, right, and this new generation and making it really easy and convenient. So we have outreach workers that are going into the community, not just in our building, to talk about here's how you can download the information. You can go to the website. I think that is positive. We have to think about different mechanisms. Again, when we had the job fair, there was a fella who said, I have a speeding ticket. Would it be okay to fill out census paperwork? And yes, it's okay. We aggregate that data, but we don't individualize it as a government. So just dispelling some of the myths, having folks that are reflective and look like the community that they're trying to get the information on goes a long way.
Yeah. Educating folks, so important.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
It's always good to talk to you for the first time. That's good.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And this is a very important topic. Follow along, do your homework. We will try to keep you updated as much as we can here. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Let's Talk Cincy.
Of course, email us all of your ideas at ltc@wlwt.com, and we will see you next time. Stay encouraged.